إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتاب العزيز وأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قل يا عبادي الذين آمنوا اتقوا ربكم للذين أحسنوا في هذه الدنيا حسنة وأرض الله واسعة إنما يوفى الصابرون أجرهم بغير حساب وقال ولا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم أولئك هم الفاسقون صدق الله العظيم. My dear respected elders, brothers and sisters, most of us are immigrants to this country. If not first generation, then we are probably second generation immigrants. And we probably have heard from our parents, or if we are first generation, we have thought to ourselves or contemplated that what is the future of ourselves, our families, and our progeny in this country. There are different thoughts that go through a person's mind, which we hear all the time. Some people are of the opinion that we need to go back home as soon as possible, wherever they think home may be. Whereas the reality is that the majority of people that have come here, they rarely go back. And if they do try to make an effort to relocate back to their country of origin, more often than not, within a couple of years, they are back here because they cannot get used to that system that they left behind, system of inefficiency, sometimes bribery, cronyism, and problems that we know exist back in our so-called Muslim countries. So many of them come back when they even try to relocate to their countries of origin. And some people think that we need to isolate ourselves as much as possible to protect us from the quote-unquote evil environment that we are living in. And this is, again, it has its positives and it has its negatives. The positives in the sense that the Muslims insulate themselves and they isolate themselves, and it protects the children, it protects the sisters, and there is kind of like a neighborly feel to the people living in a particular locality, which are all Muslims, and that is its positive. But the negative consequence of this is to the outside world, those areas become ghettoized, and they become like ghettos, and which we heard, a year or so ago, some news outlets, they were calling them no-go areas, particularly in England and France, where non-Muslims do not even dare to go in. So that's the image that people have of these isolated areas and insulated areas where only Muslims are residing in, and the attitude is for those people, the non-Muslims, that we shouldn't even try to go in there because those areas are dangerous. So it has pros and cons. And then there is a third kind of attitude that people have, that they immerse themselves in the culture so much with an attitude of when in Rome, do as the Romans do, that they even forget about their origin, they forget what their names were. And in this society we've had many people that actually change their names from Muslim sounding names to westernized names so that they kind of fit in completely. In fact, if anybody has had the opportunity to get the citizenship of this country, there is an option when you're applying for your citizenship, or when you get approved for your citizenship, that when you get your certificate, you have the option to have your name changed for free. So that becomes an incentive for people to say, okay, my name, people have had difficulty pronouncing it every time I go anywhere, to the DMV or to apply for a credit card or whatever reason that people have, they say, I'm going to change my name. And sometimes it doesn't stop at just simply changing the name. People immerse themselves in the society so much that when they are around non-Muslim friends, they will eat and drink anything that their non-Muslim friends are eating and drinking. And they will engage in those activities which their non-Muslim friends are engaging in without a care for what the Islamic ruling is for those activities that they are engaging in. And it is about such people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُمْ. Don't be like those people that forgot Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and when they forgot Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they even forgot themselves. Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them forget themselves. So this is what happens to those people. They forget their origin, they forget the culture that they're from, they forget the rules and regulations that they grew up with, and the ethics and the morals that were ingrained into them, and they become completely different. And then those kinds of people, you will only see them at 2 times in the masjid, either at the time of performing the wedding, a nikah ceremony, or at the time of a funeral. And it's a very sad state of affairs when you see that happening. You see people, the children of such people coming in, and they don't have a clue as to what to do when it comes to the prayer, positions of prayer, how to pray, and they look around aimlessly, wondering what to do next, and they basically just stand next to their parents or their uncle or whoever they came with, just following along as the elder who has a little bit of an idea of praying salat, they just follow along. So that's a very sad state of affairs. Muslims, we need to understand what is the best course of action for us when we are living in a Western environment. How should we be living, and how should we be dealing with the outside environment? This is what we need to understand. The first question is it haram to stay in a Muslim country? That's the first question. And many people, you will hear many fatwa that are thrown around about the issue of whether it's halal or haram to stay in a non-Muslim country, and you will probably hear that it's absolutely haram, it's absolutely impermissible for a person to live in a society which does not practice Islam and the rules are against Islam. But the reality is that many of us came from so-called Muslim countries and so-called Islamic countries where the name is Islamic, but all of the habits are completely against the ethics, the morals, and the principles laid down by Islam. So where do we go? Do we leave a society, this society, which on the face of it is not religious, it's away from religion, there's a separation between church and state, and go back to a facade of Islam, or an outside view of Islam, but internally everything is hollow? What do we do? So the question really is it actually haram to stay in a non-Muslim country? The Prophet ﷺ actually said about the non-Muslims, he praised some non-Muslims for the habits and the morals that they will implement even up until the Day of Judgment. So even the Prophet ﷺ appreciated some morals that the non-Muslims, particularly the Christians, implemented. And there's a hadith that Sheikh Salah Sawi mentioned the other day. He was giving a lecture, beautiful hadith, in which he mentioned 4 qualities that the Prophet ﷺ counted about the Christian non-Muslims and those habits that they will maintain until the Day of Judgment. So is it haram to live in a non-Muslim country? We will find that the Prophet ﷺ actually encouraged people to go to a non-Muslim country when their Islam was under threat in the most holiest place in the world, which was Makkah al-Mukarramah, the most blessed place in which each salat is multiplied, or each deed is multiplied 100,000 times. The Prophet ﷺ, for the Muslims, he told them to take refuge in a non-Muslim environment. So this is an amazing thing that we need to learn from this action of the Prophet ﷺ. There's a verse in the Quran, Surah Zumar, verse 10. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ يَا عِبَادِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا رَبَّكُمْ لِلَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا فِي هَذِهِ الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةٌ وَأَرْضُ اللَّهِ وَاسِعَةٌ إِنَّمَا يُوَفَّى الصَّابِرُونَ أَجْرَهُمْ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Tell them, O Prophet of Allah, O my slaves that have the awareness of your Lord. O my slaves that have actually the translation is, have awareness of your Lord. لِلَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا, it's a command. لِلَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا فِي هَذِهِ الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةٌ. Those people that do good in this world, they will get hasana. They will get a good out of it, whether that is good in this world or the good of the hereafter. They will get a good out of it. And then the main point is, وَأَرْضُ اللَّهِ وَاسِعَةٌ. The earth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is vast. The earth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is vast. Go to any place where you can practice your Islam freely. Go to any place where there's religious freedom and you're not going to be persecuted for your religion. Go to that place and do not be ashamed of living there. Allah goes on to say, إِنَّمَا يُوَفَّى الصَّابِرُونَ أَجْرَهُمْ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Indeed, those people that are patient and steadfast, they will get their reward without any kind of reckoning. According to Imam Tabari or Imam Qurtubi, that this verse was actually addressing Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, one of the emigrants from Mecca to Abyssinia. And then there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. There's a riwayah. Salama, one of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, she narrates that when we were staying in Mecca and it became difficult upon us, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ were being harmed and tested, and they saw trials and tribulations in their deen. The Prophet ﷺ could not defend them, and the Prophet himself was under the protection of his people and his uncle. The things that his companions had to endure didn't affect him as badly as it did to them. So the Prophet ﷺ was protected by his uncle Abu Talib, and because of that, he didn't have to face the same difficulty as the other Muslims had to face. So what did he tell them? He told them, indeed, in the land of Abyssinia, Habasha, nowadays Ethiopia, there is a king, nobody is oppressed in front of him. So go and stay in his lands until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens up a way for you and an exit from the troubles that you're in. So Salama says, we left towards Abyssinia in groups until we gathered there, and we descended from the best place to the best neighbor. We left the best place, which is Makkatul Mukarramah, and then we found the best neighbor in this king of Abyssinia. We were at peace with our religion, and we were not afraid of any oppression. So it is very, very clear that the Prophet ﷺ, he encouraged people to even go to a non-Muslim country where they were in safety and they were not going to be oppressed because of their religion. So it seems that it is perfectly permissible to live in a non-Muslim environment. There's another riwayah, beautiful riwayah, in which the Prophet ﷺ was excited when he foresaw in the future that his followers are going to go to far-off lands to spread the word of Islam. It's narrated by Anas bin Malik. I have the whole Arabic in front of me. I'm not going to do that because of lack of time. Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu says that Allah's apostle, the Prophet ﷺ, used to visit Haram bint Milhan, who would offer him something to eat. Haram was the wife of Ubadah ibn Samit. The Prophet of Allah ﷺ once visited her, and she provided him with food and started looking for lice in his head. She was actually related to him. There are different interpretations or different views as to what the relationship actually was, but the fact that she was taking lice from his head would show that she was actually one of the maharim of the Prophet ﷺ. Then Allah's apostle went to sleep, and afterwards, as he woke up smiling, Haram asked, "What is causing you to smile, O Prophet of Allah? Ma adhakaka ya Rasulullah." He said, "Some of my followers were presented to me in a dream as people striving in Allah's cause on board a ship amidst, and they were sailing along in the sea, and this made me smile because they were sitting on these ships just like kings sit on thrones." Just like kings sit on thrones. So Haram radiallahu ta'ala anha, she said, "O Allah's apostle, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes me from amongst them." Okay, she was eager to be amongst those people that went far and wide to propagate the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah's apostle made dua for her, and he slept again and woke up smiling, and again he saw the same dream, and he was smiling when he woke up. Haram asked him the same question, and he told him the same answer, that I saw in my dream people striving to propagate my deen and fighting in Allah's cause. And Haram said, "O Allah's apostle, make dua that I'm amongst them." He said, "You're amongst the first people, the one that goes on ships and propagates the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're amongst them." In the second dream, he didn't mention anything about the ship. In the first dream, it was ships, and she was actually one of the people that went far and wide with her husband to propagate the deen. And the funny or the strange thing is that she is actually buried in Europe, in Cyprus. On one of the expeditions, she was riding a mule in Cyprus. She fell down and broke her neck, and she is buried actually in Cyprus, which is obviously in Europe. So again, her dua was accepted, and she was martyred in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while propagating the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to what the Prophet ﷺ had told her would happen. And if anybody is familiar with Cyprus, Cyprus is actually split up into two parts. One is the Greek area, and the other is the Turkish area. The Turkish area is populated by Muslims. The Greek area is populated by the Greek Orthodox Christians, and the grave of Haram is actually on the Greek side. But it is one of those areas, there's a masjid there, and it is a UNESCO protected site. And it has a huge history of Muslims and kings, especially during the Ottoman Empire. It is mentioned that when ships used to pass by this grave of Haram, they used to lower their masts, their flag at half-mast, for out of respect for Haram's grave, and also they used to fire off cannons in salute for the fact that she was buried there. So this was the history of Haram, who the Prophet ﷺ foresaw and foretold that she would be amongst those people that travel far and wide to propagate the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, it shows that the Prophet did not think negatively about people that went to non-Muslim countries, as long as the intention was to propagate the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is again the summary of today's khutbah, and the focus of today's khutbah is that when we are in this environment, and it's highly unlikely that we're going to leave this environment, then we need to make sure that we try to influence the environment as positively as we can, as much as we can. And that is, first and foremost, we need to live Islam and practice Islam, be good practicing Muslims, because as soon as people find out about us that we are Muslims, then the people are watching us to see what we are like. Okay, so as soon as a person finds out our name is Muhammad or Ahmed or Abdullah or Abdurrahman, then immediately the people are watching us, and they will scrutinize us to see how we are acting in our day-to-day lives. Each and every action of ours is going to be under scrutiny. So we have to make sure that we are honest, we don't cheat, we have good manners, we are polite, and we do everything that we can to make sure that we give a positive image of Islam. The second thing is that we need to contribute positively towards the society that we're living in. And one of the things that the American people are known for is the fact that they volunteer all the time. They help out in society all the time. And this is something that we as a community are lacking in a lot. Unless the masjid does something or, initiates something, the majority of us, we tend to kind of be introverted, stay within our community, and not worry about what's going on outside us. We don't worry about the environment, we don't worry about, voting, we don't worry about the poor, the homeless, making sure that we try to work in the soup kitchens. All of these things are frequented by non-Muslims, by non-Muslim charities, by churches and so on, and we as a community fall very far short of engaging ourselves in these things. And the third thing we need to make sure is that when it comes to the elections, we need to participate as much as possible. Many people, they are still hung up on this issue of whether it's halal or haram to vote. The reality is that if we look at the history of this country, we will find that things never changed for people until they themselves got involved and they tried to change this system from within. Look at the civil rights movement, look at what the previous other religions have done for themselves and forged out a place for themselves in society. So all minorities, they went through these phases in which they went through so many difficulties, and the only way that change happened for them was when they got involved and tried to make the change by themselves. And in this country, the only way to do that is to be involved politically and mostly on a local level. Local level, we need to be involved politically, and when the elections come around, we need to make sure that we vote. Today actually is the last day of early voting for the primaries. You need to make sure that you get out there and cast your vote to make sure that we have a good candidate that we can vote for in the main elections. We know what's going on in the elections right now. We know the situation and the rhetoric that is being thrown around. And if we still choose to sit at home and hope that nothing is going to happen to us and Muslims are going to be not have a hard time if certain individuals get elected, then really we should think again as to what my attitude and what my role should be in these elections. It is not something that we should take lightly. The question is, we see these politicians spouting anti-Muslim rhetoric, and by doing that, this is the most worrying thing. The most worrying thing is that the poll numbers of those candidates, it's boosted when they do that. It means that there's a willing public to listen to them and to follow them if they want to follow through with these anti-Islamic sentiments. That's a worrying thing. Yes, if the person was just saying anti-Muslim stuff and that went negatively against him and people didn't listen to him because of the negativity that he's spouting, then that would be something different. But we see that it's being accepted wholesale by people, and the poll numbers are being boosted by that. That is a worrying sign, and we should recognize that unless and until we get involved, things could take a turn for the worst. So these are the things that we need to think about as Muslims living in a non-Muslim environment. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects us, protects our progeny, protects our families, protects our communities from all forms of evil, and gives us the tawfiq and ability to stand up and fight for our rights. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد قال الله تبارك وتعالى إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد بعدد من صلى وصام اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد بعدد من قعد وقام وصل على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى الملائكة المقربين وعلى عباد الله الصالحين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم أذل الشرك والمشركين اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واجعلنا منهم واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا معهم اللهم انصرنا ولا تنصر علينا اللهم امكر لنا ولا تمكر علينا اللهم زدنا ولا تنقصنا اللهم آتنا ولا تحرمنا اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وأدخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار آمين يا رب العالمين آمين يا رب العالمين إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله العلي الجليل يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله تعالى أعلى وأولى وأكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون أقيموا الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله